Okay, calm down. You got nervous, man. You got nervous, man. Okay, calm down.
Hello and welcome to the Katie Halper Show. So happy to be here with you. We have a great show coming down right now. We're about to start a great show. The great show is Chris Hedges, the wonderful Chris Hedges, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, amazing writer. His latest book, Our Class, Trauma and Transformation in an American Prison. And so we're going to be talking about war. We're going to be talking about Russia. We're going to be talking about abortion, all great things. And before, of course, I would just invite you all to like this stream, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. You just hit subscribe and then you press the bell. Also, if you can become Patreon supporters. That's patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. In fact, if you're watching this now, you are in luck. You'll get the whole stream. But if you're watching this later, then we are going to make part of the stream Patreon only. But of course, we every week provide you with free content and just a little bit extra stuff for Patreon supporters. And stand by for the full Mark Ames interview, which we're getting to you shortly. And I think that's about it. Oh, you can also become members of the Katie Halper Show on YouTube, and you get cool badges and Bodhi emojis. So we're going to, before we are joined by Chris, we're going to just watch some clips. How about that? And you know, a great place to find good clips to watch is Case Study QB. Everyone should be following him on Twitter, but he compiles great clips. So let's watch, what do we got? Let's watch this presidential historian assessing Biden on CNN.
You know, I've just come back from Europe, and Europe is facing the inflation that we're facing. And what's so striking is that Europeans are not blaming their governments the way we blame our government for the inflation. There are a number of issues. I mean, the president, hasn't been perfect. The president promised a Build Back Better bill and clearly didn't have the votes, and I think hurt himself in the process. So it's not that this presidency has been perfect, but for him to be at 39%, he is in Watergate levels. I mean, he has fallen that far, and it doesn't make sense. There's no great scandal surrounding him. Yeah. We're helping an ally that's in a war. Usually Americans rally around the flag in such a circumstance. So the president, I think, is facing headwinds that are unusual. I would say a lot of it has to do with the pandemic and the fact that we still haven't recovered from COVID, in the sense that as a nation we still have an economy that it reflects COVID, and some people are still getting sick. So I think there are a lot of reasons. I think we've been really hard on this president, more than we have been on his modern predecessors, frankly.
Okay, so to help me analyze this, I'm bringing Bradley Bloom. Hi, Brad. How's it going?
Hey, Katie. I'm doing all right. Yourself?
Good, thanks. Very good. Very well. So what do you think of that clip? Are we being too hard on Joe Biden?
Absolutely not.
I mean, why should we be mad at him? We're defending our allies, as he pointed out. Everyone's happy to sacrifice for a proxy war in Ukraine.
I mean, yeah, it seems like the neoliberal or neocon, both those schools of thought, I mean, we are living in everything that they've wanted, and so sorry if it's a total dumpster fire. But I'm just saying, I have this gut feeling, it's probably a safe assumption that I don't recall any historians saying that we're being too hard on Trump. And it just seemed to be wall to wall. He's the devil and this and that. And
right.
Not saying that it wasn't deserved. I'm just saying that there seems to be some partisanship at play here.
Yeah, just perhaps. Right. Yeah. I mean, of course, we'd expect that on like Fox News, but
Sure.
CNN is supposed to be. But we all know CNN is just like a liberal Fox News.
I mean,
Fox News,
I
basically.
could be mistaken. Maybe I think it was either CNN or MSNBC, but didn't like recently they say even like they're working to become more objective or less partisan or something to that effect. But
Yeah, that sounds really fun. Wow. Can't wait for that.
yeah. Well, no, actually, again, I can't recall which of those two it was, but they said something to the effect of they're going to be less progressive or something like that. And I'm like, wait, when did you start being,
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Well, speaking of progressive, I just actually texted you another clip, Brad, that I think would be great to play. Because if you're disappointed progressives with Biden, he has some warm words of comfort.
And while I cue that up, can we maybe go through one of the other ones first?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, great.
So another clip that we could watch is Javier Becerra, who is interviewed by Chuck Todd. And this is an interesting response that he has to one of AOC's suggestions. So let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Talk about one of the proposals that was out there that got shot down pretty quickly. It was something that a couple of Democrats called for, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which is maybe temporary clinics on federal land. Fight it in the court, let the courts say no and instead try it. Did you guys look into this at all?
I think we're continuing to explore everything that's out there. The difficulty is that simply because it's an idea doesn't mean it can go out into practice. And so what we want to make sure is we can put things out into practice, because you have people who are right now in need of abortion care services. So we're going to do what we can to give people something as quickly as we can. Even if it may not be everything they like, we want to make sure we're providing everything we can.
So that is so frustrating, because like Kamala Harris, no one's responding to the question, are you looking into that? Are you even looking into that? Instead, he pivots to making it seem like people are being annoying and asking for too much. Right. And, well, we have a crisis to solve, which is that people no longer have the right to abortion. Like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. That's in the fucking question, which you won't answer. Why? Right. You're not answering the question. And then you're saying you got to do something. Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you hit the nail on the head, Katie, that it's the same sort of dodging that we've all grown accustomed to, whether it's from this person. I mean, anyone in the administration basically seems to have been given some sort of guidance as to how to give these sorts of non-answers and or imply that these completely valid questions are somehow unreasonable or asking too much or something like that. I mean, it seems to all be about focusing on getting people to think that, this is just a bridge too far or beyond the realm of possibility and things like that. And I mean, just again, as another example, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there was a statement or a report that came out regarding Biden's ability to forgive student debt, and he had the whole thing redacted because it stated in no uncertain terms the president is totally able to do this. And so it just seems like it's all about bending over backwards to try and get people to believe that these things are just not feasible.
Yeah. And he's saying, why don't you try it and let them stop you?
Exactly, because even if you tried, worst case scenario, they take it through the judicial process or what have you. And so then, okay, then regardless, you've got a solid year or two where these better things are in place. In the meantime,
get as many abortions out of the way as possible.
Yeah.
Just start doing it.
Yeah.
By the way, one of the worst things about the abortion ban that I don't know if everyone is thinking about is the ectopic pregnancy, which is considered abortion in some of these states. Ectopic pregnancy is literally when your the ovum or ova or ovum, it's probably just one, gets stuck in the fallopian tube and then can explode and then you bleed out.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's how sadistic and uncaring these people are. In fact, I went to a protest this weekend in Pennsylvania and there was a woman talking about that. And she tried to have babies. She wanted to get pregnant and she couldn't. She had ectopic pregnancies and she would have died.
Yeah. And again, I can't say for certain, but my very limited understanding is that, when it comes to things like what you just described, those sorts of complications, there's many other scenarios too, where the embryo could be growing outside of like this, that, and the other thing. And they're totally valid, but serious medical scenarios that require, attention. And yeah, you're right that currently it's just a total blanket, full stop, nothing's allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really awful.
Yeah.
I think that maybe a lot of women need to like share their stories, their ectopic pregnancy stories. Not that it should have to be that to get people to care, but I have a feeling like that a lot of people who consider themselves pro-life would care about that.
Yeah. And Reverend Edmund, professionally speaking, Christian fascism is real, present, and I assure this is just the beginning. We must act. The Democrats are too feeble. I totally concur, and thank you so much, Reverend Edmund.
Yeah, definitely. I forgot to say one other thing, which is that we're going to be doing a call-in after this. So make sure you come on by to call in.
Oh, great.
Yeah, after this, yeah.
So now should we play, can you remind everyone again?
So here's, which one is this one? This is Jake Tapper. You guys are going to appreciate this. This is going to be a balm to all of you. BALM, a soothing balm to everyone who feels like Biden isn't progressive enough.
Politics lead today, President Biden called for a change in Senate filibuster rules to allow legislation protecting abortion rights to pass with 51 votes instead of requiring 60. During a news conference at the NATO summit, Biden was asked about criticism from progressives who say he isn't doing or saying enough to protect abortion rights in the United States.
Your views on abortion have evolved in your public life. Are you the best messenger to carry this forward when Democrats, many of them, many progressives, want you to do more?
Yeah, I am. I'm the President of the United States of America. That makes me the best messenger. I'm the only president they got.
I'm the only president they got. Let's bring in former Obama advisor David Axelrod. What do you make of that answer? I'm the only president these progressives have.
Yeah, look, I have some sympathy for him because there are so many issues like this where there is a limit to what he can do at the moment. People say, well, let's do away with the filibuster. And he, of course, endorsed that today. But he doesn't have, Jake, this, he doesn't have 50 votes to do away with the filibuster. And he doesn't really have a magic wand that can create that or make 48 votes the requirement to change the rule. And so, but there is this, there's a strong passion about this issue out there, and people want him to do something and so, there's a frustration, I'm sure, on his part. It was not the best answer. I will give you that.
There's a frustration on his part?
Oh, yeah. Poor Joe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about that is it reminds me of Joe Biden when Charlemagne the God asked him if he, what he had to say to black voters who wanted more from him.
Yeah, right.
And he was basically, if you're not voting for me, you ain't black.
Yeah.
So this is one of the variations of the Joe Biden, I don't give a fuck response. During the primary, he several times told people to vote for someone else, to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
So this is a kind of a continuation. We should do a mashup of that.
Yeah, yeah.
If I'm telling people to vote for someone else, that if they don't vote for him, they ain't black. He's the only president they got. Yeah.
Essentially like body shaming people and.
Yeah, all right. Remember, listen fat? Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Challenging them to contests of physical, wellness and push-up contests and yeah. But again, I know that many people would be able to speak more authoritatively on this than I, but my understanding is this, contrary to what David Axelrod said there are things that they can do. There are, I mean, just as an example, when he said, I believe he said something to the effect of, he can't just magically create 51 votes. Well, we have yet to see how efficacious it would be if Biden were to actually exert pressure on people like Manchin or Sinema.
Right.
Hasn't done that once, not at all.
Yeah, right. He's supposed to be the president. He's supposed to be the guy who knows how to get things done. He's supposed to be the guy who knows how to work across the aisle. And apparently working within your party should be easier than working across the aisle, but I guess not.
I mean, he is done more deal making with Mitch McConnell than senators in his own party.
Yeah. Than he has with senators in his own party.
Yeah, right. It's, again, at least the way that I interpret it is, it seems to again fall into the same category I described in the previous clip, that it's all focused on fostering the belief amongst the mainstream audience that there's just nothing that can be done.
Yeah. Well, we played a clip last week, I believe, right? We played the clip of Kamala saying, like, basically, again, nothing was going to be done.
Yeah.
Saying that she was a woman herself, the daughter of a mother, the granddaughter of a mother. And we kind of made fun of that because it was such a word salad. But I feel bad because I didn't show another really good word salad clip that I feel like even surpasses that one. So don't worry, guys, because I think she's just as bad on the environment as she is on women's issues. So this is her at a climate change event.
I might need to ready myself for this.
Oh, yeah. Please, trigger warning, everyone. Yeah.
All right.
It's especially true when it comes to the climate crisis, which is why we will work together and continue to work together to address these issues, to tackle these challenges, and to work together as we continue to work operating from the new norms, rules, and agreements that we will convene to work together on to galvanize global action. With that, I thank you all. This is a matter of urgent priority for all of us, and I know we will work on this together.
What did she just say?
Work together, work on this together.
I don't even know what she was talking about.
Yeah.
But it's very important.
It's very important. And there's a lot of working together. As Brian Frederick points out, by the way, call back to Brad saying that Biden made more deals with McConnell than he does with other Dems. Biden cut a deal with McConnell to appoint an anti-abortion judge in Kentucky. Yep, that is true. Then we got a comment. What's ARS? What currency is that?
Oh,
notice how not greedy I am. I don't care. I'll take it no matter what. I didn't wait to check the currency rate to determine whether it's worth reading.
I think it might be Argentinian, Argentina's peso.
Huh, interesting. Well, if it is, I don't know what it is, but I'm just happy. What if I basically won the lottery, the equivalent of the lottery just now, and I didn't know because I don't know the currency. Okay, but the comment says, if liberals didn't fund fascist religious figures abroad for 50 years to defeat communism, perhaps those same evil forces wouldn't have taken over at home. Today they run amok, having long destroyed unions and grassroots left. Yeah, I'm curious who you're talking about. I mean, we definitely did do that. I'm just curious. Zimborska, let us know. You don't have to pay again, but would love to know the examples of these people, which we definitely did fund a lot of religious figures abroad to defeat communism. In Argentina, especially, actually. Let's see, did we get a follow-up? It ain't worth shit because of the IMF guy. Sorry, Katie. What? So are you from Argentina? Are you from Argentina, Zimborska? And tell me some examples of the people you're talking about, because I'm actually interested.
And it all matters, and it all is very, very, very appreciated.
Yes. Bin Laden. Okay, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I
That's a
mean,
good
I
example.
mean, I would, again, I think that it could be a longer conversation, but I think it's kind of a chicken or the egg sort of thing, because when you refer to funding outside evil forces that then take over at home, I would personally argue that those evil forces were here and funded these bad things at home, and they're just still.
Oh yeah, I think that's implicit. I don't think, because the evil people are the ones funding them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I mean, the way that it reads to me when it says like, if liberals didn't fund fascists, blah 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 blah, like, to me that applies to all the neocons, neoliberal, that just essentially the establishment for the last 50 years.
Yeah, exactly. We got another comment. Clang, clang, clang went the folly, which I think is a
That
that's a reference to
it's a
meet
music,
me. Yeah.
a musical reference.
Sing, sing, sing with the trolley,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
heart. That's Meet Me in St. Louis, right? With Judy Garland, I believe.
I think I should know this.
Yeah, I'm not the musician, but I am the person who used to watch
it
musicals.
is, yeah,
when I was a kid.
It is Judy Garland, yeah.
Do you know that I would do that? That I would watch musicals instead of cartoons as a kid. I would watch black and white movies and musicals. That's all I watched.
I didn't know that, but it does
and fairy tale theater, which was real actors playing fairy tales.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So like you got Vanessa Redgrave played, or was it Lynn? No, Vanessa or Lynn, one of the Redgrave sisters played the witch in Snow White, the evil stepmother in Snow White. Elizabeth McGovern played Snow White. Jennifer Beals was Cinderella. I think Matthew Broderick was Prince Charming. Mary Steenburgen was Little Red Riding Hood. Malcolm McDowell was the Wolf. Ellen Barkin was in one.
Wow.
Liza Minnelli was Princess and the Pea. Shelley Long or Shelley Duvall, one of the two, was like the creator of the show, and she played Rapunzel. Well, she played Rapunzel's mom, and Jeff Bridges played Rapunzel's dad, and then she played Rapunzel, and Jeff Bridges played the prince who saves her. Spoiler alert.
So like with a star-studded cast like that, that's essentially like the SNL or In Living Color of the fairy tale.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's exactly it. Yes, Eric W. He knows what's happening. He says fairy tale theater was lit. Indeed. Indeed. No, Ellen Barkin wasn't. Oh, that's funny. Ellen Barking. Wasn't the wolf. Oh, wait. Let's wait for it. That's great. Wow. Then Noah N writes, the Biden administration is breaking the Nuremberg codes and force injecting people with crap with no long-term testing done. The Christian churches are the only ones standing against this literal fascism. Oh
boy.
Okay, that's I read the comment.
Yep.
Maybe
and
just maybe though, when the Christian church is the only thing standing up against something, historically speaking.
There's not a great track record there. And I mean,
when it comes to church and science.
But I mean, I would agree that what was it, Chomsky who said, I mean, if we actually enforced the Nuremberg codes, every president after World War II would be in the Hague, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, right, but they wouldn't be, because of course we'd like have that law. What is it where we can break people out of the Hague?
Oh yeah, that's
so funny.
That is like, I forget the name of it, but it is like the Hague Invasion Act or something like that.
That's great.
Yeah,
it was Shelley Duvall. People are telling me,
Oh.
Wow, a lot of people watch the show. We should do. Can we do? Kamala has the charisma of a cabbage. Well, cabbages are kind of cute. Wait, what's the name of the one I just said? Rapunzel, right? Then there was Rumpelstiltskin.
Yep.
Who is we? I wonder if we could somehow get permission to watch those. Do a watch party.
Maybe.
Can you play sad trombone?
I will work on that, Mark.
Yeah, you did not miss Hedges yet.
Well, I miss him.
Well, right, we're missing him right now, but he has not come on yet.
I'm making a note. Sad trombone for Mark.
Yeah, Cabbage Patch Kids are really cute and very charismatic. Remember the Garbage Pail Kids?
Oh yeah, I might actually still have one laying around. The Battered Brad card.
Oh, what's the Katie one? Can you look for the Katie one? Look up. Show us the Battered Brad one, and then look up what the Katie one is.
Okay.
Except they're not being forced to be injected. You can deny being injected. I don't think the Nazis were like, you have to do something if you want access to this thing. And what are we talking about? People are flying planes without the vaccine.
Yeah,
right? I mean, they're on planes, right? What is the
Yeah,
vaccine even required for?
Yeah, there was no, in this country, there is no, people have always been given the option of not receiving the vaccine.
Right. No one was forced. There were definitely
No one has ever been held down.
Right.
And yeah.
Cabbage is exciting as AF to Hungarians. Why? Why is that?
Because they know what's up.
They do know what's up. You know who's a great Hungarian? Hungarian Canadian American. Aaron Mate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So here is Battered Brad.
Wow, that's harsh.
This takes me back. You would like get these inside packs of baseball cards and stuff. And I will try and find out if there is even a Katie.
There must be. I'm just going to entertain this. You aren't forced to take it. You can choose to be jobless and throw away your nursing degree. Okay, that's obviously being sarcastic. I still think we can leave room.
No, that's literally a choice. Just like no one is forcing you to pay taxes, but the consequence would be you go to jail. So if that's a trade-off you're willing to make, you don't have to.
Well, except jail is much more aggressive because you're being denied liberty.
No, sure. So, but just saying, like, you've got a choice.
Yeah. All right, I'll look this thing up because I'm curious about it. I'll look it up on for the next show.
And all right.
Oh, interesting. How much anti-vax sentiment is really just people afraid of needles and terrified of needles? I don't know.
Or just a function or a consequence of the giant, forget what the reporting, it was like a Koch-backed group that's just funded that whole narrative.
Huh.
So here we go.
What do we got? Garbage Pail Kids, Kangaroo Katie. But that's so cute.
Well, not from the perspective of the kangaroo. Look at the kangaroo's face. That kangaroo is freaked out.
Well, I mean, by that little garbage pail baby.
Well, Katie is perfectly content in that pouch there.
Yeah, because we think that the kangaroo is cute.
You think maybe the shock on the kangaroo's face is it's looking down, expecting to see
a kangaroo, a baby kangaroo.
I believe that's called it's Roo.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah, it's Roo, not a human Roo. I'm a human.
And instead, it sees Katie down there.
Yeah. Rev Edmund Bolea. Katie, is Aaron Mate related to Dr. Gabor Mate? I should make you pay $10 before I answer that. But because I'm a very good person, yes, it's his father. That is his father. Has everyone seen my great interview with Gabor? It's very good.
That was a very good interview with Gabor.
Yeah, it was great, right?
Yeah, just the stories that man, I mean, the personal life accounting that he provided, it's remarkable.
Yeah, really great. Oh, you know what? Let's take a quick break and play the one. Let's just play my cool intro. Let's give ourselves a second. We're going to play the cool intro.
All righty. Here.
Okay, I'm down. You got limits, man. You got limits, man. Okay, I'm down.
All right. Well, that was just a little palate cleanser, which is kind of weird because we're not going to be deviating that much from what we were just talking about. We are. Oh wait, I just see something in the song cover "The Rolling Stone" by Dr. Hook. There's a character called Cocaine Katie. For the record, my name is no Garbage Pail Kid. Wow. Well, TTLD forever. What's your name? I want to know because we can try to make one up.
True.
I don't know if TTLD wants to tell me though.
I mean, I respect their privacy if they don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Let's we watched a couple of clips. Let's watch this Bernie clip. It's about Bernard.
Wednesday, Senator Bernie Sanders called for fines up to $55,000 per passenger if an airline cancels a flight due to staffing shortages.
Is the situation so bad that DOT should start fining airlines?
We have fined airlines where they've failed to provide refunds or treat customers well in other ways.
But not for canceling a flight for staffing.
Right. So there are other authorities that we may have, and we're going to look at it. But what I'd much rather do is just have a good outcome so that we don't even have to go there. It's clear that the airline sector is not ready to meet public expectations, and I'm concerned about that.
Whose fault is that?
I'm not interested in the blame game. I'm interested in making sure that passengers can get to where they need to be.
A record.
Not interested in the blame game, just interested in getting the passengers to where they have to be. You know, sometimes when you ask a question about whose fault is that, it's to figure out what to do. It's not just to play the blame game. It's actionable intelligence. Right? Because you're going to do something to those people. I'm not talking about torturing them, inflicting violence on them necessarily, but no. I'm just saying that you got to do something to someone.
Well, right, and it has the same tone or energy to me as like when Obama first took office and commenting on whether or not he was going to hold George W. Bush accountable for his objective war crimes, and he said something to the effect of, "I'm not interested in looking backward, just looking forward."
Yeah, why would you ever punish people for torture? You know, we tortured some folks, as he said.
Yeah.
We tortured some folks, yeah.
And I want to share this tweet with you, Katie. Here we go. So this was a tweet put out by Senator Bernie Sanders, and
the American people are sick of airlines ripping them off, canceling flights at the last minute and delaying flights 4 hours on end. It's time for Buttigieg to fine airlines $55,000 per passenger for every flight cancellation they know can't be fully staffed.
That was outstanding. And I would also like to direct people's attention to one of these images here, and where I wonder if I can't highlight this, but if you can see my mouse cursor, this second paragraph here, it reminds us of a time in 2009 during a plague of delays and cancellations that the then Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood under the Obama administration implemented the tarmac delay rule, which fines airlines up to $27,500 per passenger for allowing domestic flights to sit on the tarmac for more than 3 hours and international flights to remain on the tarmac for more than 4 hours without providing passengers an opportunity to deplane. 10 months after this rule was enacted, tarmac delays went down by nearly 98%. So we have historical precedent here that, shocker, when you provide a disincentive for this sort of thing, these companies respond and stop doing that.
Wow, who would have thunk?
But the current Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, says he has no interest in
playing the blame game.
Yeah, and I think I had read that basically he recently had a private meeting with these airline CEOs where he essentially just asked politely for them to do the right thing, which, you know, which seems to kind of be at odds with one of his previous statements regarding the baby formula shortage, where he said that we are a capitalist system.
Right. And
as most of our audience likely knows, in a capitalist system, private for-profit companies have a legal fiduciary responsibility to maximize profits. And so they have no interest in doing the quote-unquote right thing unless it is it also happens to jive with their main priority, which is making as much money as possible.
Yeah.
So a fine like what Senator Sanders is calling for, and as was done a little over a decade ago, gives them that incentive.
Yeah, imagine if someone was like, who's responsible for that mining accident that killed people?
You know,
and you're like, I'm not interested in the blame game.
Or who's responsible for, the insurrection on January 6th?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in playing the blame game.
Right.
We got to
Yeah.
look forward.
Right, because it's ridiculous. Gotta look forward. Yeah, that would be good. They should do that. Dave L writes, they can't cancel flights for staffing shortages if they don't overbook flights in the first place.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. And I don't have it in front of me, but I do know there seems to be some reporting on the topic that is at least saying, I think it might have been a statement from a pilots union that was, at least according to them, claiming that they are aware that these airlines are purposely booking flights that they know are going to get canceled, and they are booking them anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frank Capria writes, Pete Buttigieg is clown. Katie, please run against him in his inevitable second campaign. All right, I accept. I'll do it. Hey, I don't have the blood of like a young 11-year-old child on my hands the way that Mayor Pete does, because he instituted smart streets and a kid got hit and run over.
None of that got any attention.
No,
in the
no
mainstream.
media attention. That was really disgusting.
Not in the mainstream. No.
Yes.
None.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I can't remember his
well, which again,
name.
it's a similar thing where it's like all of these things that are happening now, at least my anecdotal, what I am observing from like relatives of mine and whatnot who just are purveyors of mainstream media, all of these things that like Biden is doing or not doing, it's like brand new news to them,
right.
And I have to think a lot of it is because up until now, there's basically been no attention paid to the fact that there's a lifetime record of this guy being the sort of person he is right now.
Yeah. By the way, his name is Tristan Moore.
Yeah, that's right.
And here's a photo of him because no one ever talks about him.
Yeah.
It's really sad. It's awful. He was 11 years old and running for the school bus. So that's Tristan Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Which if we had a remotely responsible media, they would have been talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But hey, if Bernie inherits like a lake shack,
oh my God, from Jane, I know.
Then that's nonstop coverage on that,
We can also, I thought, while we're waiting, I just want to read a quick article. I think this would be cool.
Oh, yeah, I can bring that up for you.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
Okay. This is interesting. So this is kind of funny, I have to admit. Let's see. After a string of Supreme Court setbacks, Democrats wonder whether Biden White House is capable of urgency moment demands. Debra Messing was fed up. The former Will and Grace star was among dozens of celebrity Democratic supporters and activists who joined a call with the White House aides last Monday to discuss the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. The mood was fatalistic, according to 3 people on the call, which was also co-organized by the advocacy group Build Back Better Together. Messing said she'd gotten Joe Biden elected and wanted to know why she was being asked to do anything at all, yelling that there didn't even seem a point to voting. Others wondered why the call was happening. That afternoon, participants received a follow-up email with a list of basic talking points and suggestions of Biden's speech clips to share on TikTok. The call 3 days after the decision eliminating federal abortion rights encapsulates the overwhelming sense of frustration among Democrats with Biden. which I'm happy that Debra Messing is realizing how inept, or not even inept, because again, it's often not a question of inability, it's a question of choice and will. So I'm glad that she has somewhat of a heart and brain and sees that they are not rising to the occasion. But there was this guy, you may have heard of him, Deb.
I just want to interject and just say personally, I'm not willing to go as far as to say that she's got a heart or a brain. That they're
all right. So it's a split decision on this court, on this Supreme Court.
That's right. But one of the
we need John Roberts to
one
break
of the bombshells, at least for me, reading through that was, I didn't know that Debra Messing had gotten Joe Biden elected.
Right. Yeah, she did.
Wow.
There's that humility that we love about Debra Messing.
Wow.
But there was a guy named Bernard Sanders who Debra Messing really beat up on. When she wasn't busy beating up on Susan Sarandon, she was beating up on Bernie Sanders. So, while we're about to bring on Chris Hedges, but why don't we play a clip of a great film that he made, this video called The Long Way Home, which is based on his experience working, teaching at prisons.
All right.
Thomas Dollar, who spent 30 years in prison, said that 6 months after his release, he too struggles to cope.
I dream that I'm still there, Like I dream that they're calling mess out. I wake up like, mess out, I'm getting ready to literally get up to go start preparing for mess. Wow, so many things. Dealing, even, my wife sometimes has to say to me, like, why you not sleep? Because I'm used to sleeping light because people moving around me, waiting for the police to come hit my bed to wake me up and say, you got to get up or you got to wake up so I can see you move. I still deal with these things now, this, sometimes people say that, I want to be free, but after being caged up so long, sometimes you say to yourself, am I really free? I know I'm on parole, that's not free. I'm still what I look at as being a slave because I can't go anywhere I want. I have to ask permission. I feel like I'm 51 years old, but I feel like I'm somebody's child. My parole officer is at least 20 years younger than me, and when I'm going to him, I have to ask him, I have to text him and tell him I want to go here, or I can't even spend the night anywhere. These things are like being in prison.
Those in prison carry the trauma they endured in prison with them when they leave. The emotional numbness they needed to cope on the inside, the ever-present threat of violence, the military-like regime where they are ordered about, made to march in single lines, thrown into isolation for minor infractions, locked in cages the size of bathrooms, and forced to obey the whims of corrections officers. These experiences and the conditioning they engender are not easily discarded, as Boris Franklin, who was in prison for 11 years, explained.
Well, one thing I learned when I got in prison, I had never heard more excuse me and pardon me, and because immediately you have to let the individual know that I don't have a problem with you. So being rude in the prison comes at a different cost, especially in the maximum security prison, in this hyper masculine space.
I seen a guy stab a guy in the yard and he died. I watched it. Did I think that I would see this day? No. I got cut in my face by somebody who was mad at somebody that I was close with. Every day when you wake up and you're in a situation like that and you're caged in, you don't see no way out.
And when people are rushing the hustle and bustle of getting on the buses when we were going to Rutgers, they don't say excuse me. So you don't know if So my knee-jerk response is to respond to that disrespect in the way in which I might have responded in that prison space, right? I mean, you were there when I came home, and I was so socially awkward. I sat next to Chris at my first family outing, and I couldn't order off an IHOP menu because choices were overwhelming. I wasn't used to choices. We had a limited amount of choices. So your senses just get overwhelmed with everything. I couldn't nail down the timing for crossing the street. I never thought that would be a problem. I hadn't crossed the street in so long, I couldn't time the cars. I would be sitting there just waiting for no traffic to come out.
You have stores everywhere, you know. This has been, this was a culture shock for me. Coming back to a world that I really had no idea. You could, and when you're on the inside, you think you know what the world is like out here. Trust me, you have absolutely no idea.
And then when I went places, I felt like, even if I was in a place where nobody knew me, I felt like I was sitting in a room with a prison uniform on with DOC on the back of it. And everyone knew I had just gotten out of prison. But I didn't know there would be this storm of emotions going on inside of me that people could not see. That this anxiety that people could not see, that I was always under this pressure, which makes you want to leave. And then you get to the point to where as though to be outside at night, I always felt like I was running back home because I was out of place. I'm supposed to be locked down at this time. I'm usually locked in a cell. And I remember I used to just have to stay out later and go further. Just drive a little further. Something as small as breaking a rule, right? Like throwing something out of a window.
So that is an excerpt of The Long Road Home, which is a film by Chris Hedges, or film made by Chris Hedges, that's based on his experience teaching in prisons. And we're going to be talking to Chris Hedges about that literally in a few seconds. But before I bring him in case anyone needs any introduction to him, which I doubt, Chris Hedges is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who was a foreign correspondent for 15 years for the New York Times, where he served as the Middle East Bureau Chief and Balkan Bureau Chief for the paper. He previously worked overseas for the Dallas Morning News, the Christian Science Monitor, and NPR. He was the host of the Emmy Award-nominated RT America show On Contact, and now hosts the Chris Hedges Report at The Real News. And you can find all of his work, including that video, at chrishedges.substack.com. So without any further ado, welcome, Chris. Oops.
Thanks.
Sorry about that. Hi. Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining.
Sure.
I thought we could just start by talking about, you could just give people some context, because I just showed them a little clip of that, about what that film is about and why you made it.
Because my students, I've been teaching in the prisons now for over a decade, and when they get out, there are so many hurdles placed in front of them that it's almost impossible to make it. A lot of them get out owing fines. And if they can't get work, and it's very difficult to get work, they're barred from hundreds of professions. Basically, any profession you need a license for, plumber or hairdresser, they can't get. They can't get public assistance because they have a record. Like one of the guys I interviewed there, Kabir, he gets a job in Whole Foods. I don't know if you showed that clip. He gets a job in Whole Foods, and then as soon as the background check comes in, he's fired. And I went to the manager. The manager might as well have been deaf. He wasn't interested in a word that I had to say. I mean, I know Kabir extremely well. He's one of those people who shouldn't even be in prison. He was just turned 18 and in a car listening to a 50 Cent song, two guys in their 20s go into a bodega to rob it. He doesn't know they're going to rob it. The owner had a gun. They had a gun. The owner gets shot. And he gets charged. He's 16 years in prison. The guy wouldn't hurt a fly. I mean, it's just, so there's so many, and that's why we have such a high recidivism rate. So 74% of people in our prisons, or maybe it's 76, I can't remember, after 5 years get back in because everything's stacked against them. So I wanted to talk to these students so people would understand how all of the obstacles that are placed in front of them when they get out, and how the system is really designed to funnel them back in, plus the trauma. I mean, we send people to prison with trauma, and then we re-traumatize them. And so the adjustment of emotional adjustment in prison, you have to build these kind of emotional walls. I mean, and I spent a lot of time with 5 of my students, all of whom are amazing, incredibly articulate, thoughtful, wonderful people. And just to lay out, and then you get the whole issue of trying to get parole. So when you are up for parole, you get a 2-man panel, and it's crazy. I mean, it's all patronage. So like, for instance, Chris Christie's former driver is on it. I mean, these people don't, or ex-law enforcement, or, some cop who got fired. I mean, it's just all, and so the 2-man panel decides to approve you for the full panel. But if they don't approve you, they can say, come back in 3 years. I mean, we talked in one case where they said, come back in 60 years. It's an insane system, and people who are uneducated, illiteracy is high, or they have developmental issues. They can't play that game. I mean, they're just trapped inside the prison forever. So it's really that story that I think a lot of people don't hear. It's called A Long Road Home. It's on YouTube. It's in parts 1 and 2. I encourage everyone to watch it, because I think it's an aspect of the carceral state that is important. These people are thrown into a criminal caste system, in essence, that we often don't acknowledge.
And what made you start teaching? How did that happen?
I kind of fell into it in a way, but not really when you think about it. So I was in seminary. I was at Harvard Divinity School, but I lived in Roxbury, which is a depressed inner city part of Boston. I was going to be an inner city minister. I kind of soured on the liberal church. I'd always written. I published in the Christian Science Monitor when I was in college, but I went from there to El Salvador. I went from El Salvador to the Middle East, mostly to Gaza, a lot of time in Gaza. I went from there to Sarajevo. I mean, so I was always putting myself in physical locations where there was tremendous suffering. And I have a neighbor, Celia Chazelle, who is the head of the history department at the College of New Jersey. And at that time, there was no college program. Now there's a great program run by Rutgers University in the prison system that I teach in. But at the time, there wasn't any. And so after they got their GED, about 40% of the people who come into the prison system are illiterate. After they get their GED, there was no further education. So she was just going in and teaching like a full semester history course. It didn't have any academic validity. And then she'd print a certificate out on her home computer if they completed the course, and it would go into their file and help when they went before the parole board. And that's how I started. And then eventually, when Rutgers started their program in, I think it was 2013, then I started teaching college credit courses through Rutgers.
Oh, that's great. And it's a very great, it's a great movie, and I'm excited to watch part 2. I watched part 1, but it's really compelling. And I wanted to ask you, speaking of the church, you wrote a great piece called Fascists in Our Midst. Supreme Court rulings, including the overturning of Roe v. Wade, herald the ascendancy of Christian fascism in the United States. And I wanted to ask you about, first off, one of the many scary things about that piece is the fact that you go over some of the cases that the Supreme Court has decided recently that the media is not covering. You write, I can actually just read them off. Let's see. So it not only overturned Roe v. Wade, ending a constitutional right to an abortion, but ruled on June 21st that Maine may not exclude religious schools from a state tuition program. It has ruled that a Montana state program to support private schools must include religious schools. It ruled that a 40-foot cross could remain on state property in suburban Maryland. It upheld the Trump administration regulation allowing employers to deny birth control coverage to female employees on religious grounds. It ruled that employment discrimination laws do not apply to teachers at religious schools. I mean, there's more, but we don't have all day. Were you shocked by these decisions, or were these things that you were expecting from this Supreme Court?
No, because I followed the Christian right for a long time, and I wrote a book called American Fascists, the Christian Right,
which is
and
great.
the War on America, which on the one hand, was a bestseller. It was a New York Times bestseller. But on the other hand, I was excoriated, especially by academics who did not want to go after the Christian right in the name of tolerance, I suppose, and also because they didn't want to be accused of religious bigotry and everything else. But they really failed us, because this is an authentically fascist movement under the kind of guise of what they call dominionism. I come out of the church. My father was a minister. My mother was a seminary graduate. I, of course, graduated from the divinity school at Harvard. So I am maybe more acutely attuned to how these people distort the Bible to fit their ideology. But I also was really fortunate to study with a great theologian named James Luther Adams at Harvard, who at the time was 80. And he had been in Germany in 1935 and 1936 and had joined the underground anti-Nazi church called the Confessing Church, led by Niemöller and Bonhoeffer, until he was arrested by the Gestapo and expelled. And he immediately saw the parallels with this. He said, when you're my age, you'll all be fighting the Christian fascists. And that has really been, I think, a terrible failing on the part of the liberal church to give these people religious legitimacy. Remember, the German Nazis created the so-called German Christian Church, which was pro-Nazi, had the Nazi flag on one side and Christian cross on the other. And that's really what these people have done. I mean, they have sacralized the worst elements of white supremacy, misogyny, imperialism, corporate capitalism, you name it, and built parallel institutions, which is what all fascist movements do: schools, universities, law schools, Patrick Henry Law School, its own media platform, its paramilitary groups, and I would include Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater G, and he now sold it off. It's called Academy or something else, I don't know. But all of these, it's all there. And of course, the twin goals is to take over the judiciary and the organs of internal security. Well, they basically have the judiciary, and they are pushing through their agenda. And it's extremely frightening, the utter failure on the part of the Biden administration and the Democrats to respond to the widespread suffering. Half this country lives in poverty or near poverty. Means that in the midterms, most likely these Christian fascists, this is not the old establishment Republican Party, gathered around a figure like Trump. Trump has no ideology, but he filled that void with Christian fascism. Betsy DeVos, Mike Pence, Pompeo, and others. Barr is a member of this. And these people are going to come back with a vengeance. So if they have the judiciary, in essence, which they do, and then they have the Congress, and then they get the executive branch, it's over. It's what is left of our very anemic and sick democracy will be snuffed out.
So what is the solution to this? Because I know that you've talked about and you've written about the lack of difference, not the lack of difference, the similarities between the Democrats and the Republicans. So how do we fight these fascists?
Well, that was a question I asked in the book. Now, I went in, I spent 2 years with them. Luckily, I had a good advance, so I could live off of it for 2 years. And I was really embedded with them in the mega churches, Right to Life weekends. I took an evangelism explosion course with D. James Kennedy, creationist seminars in Missouri. I was all over the country. And that was a question I asked. So, but I went into it with kind of the prejudice of the liberal church. In fact, my father was kind of very left wing. He was involved in the anti-war movement, civil rights movement. We were close to the Berrigans, or at least we didn't know the Berrigans at the time, but the Berrigan brothers were models for us. Dorothy Day, William Stringfellow, all these figures. And so I think what first affected me was doing, in the end, hundreds of hours of interviews with people within this movement. Their stories of despair were very real and heartbreaking. You'd have to be heartless not to feel for their pain, their struggles with domestic abuse, sexual violence, evictions, unemployment, substance abuse, gambling addictions. I mean, it was all there. And I actually begin the first chapter called Despair And I saw that how the leaders of these megachurches or the leaders of this movement manipulate that despair for power, but also for their own financial benefit. These people are multi-millionaires, the successful ones. People said, well, at the beginning of the Trump administration, well, how can Trump associate with, how can the evangelical right support Trump? I said, no, you don't understand. They're the same. These mega pastors are white male narcissists. They're just like Trump. Trump had his sham university or his casinos. These people have their mega churches. It's exactly the same process, with this difference, anecdotally, the sexual proclivities of the Christian right are probably kinkier than Trump's. But they're the same people. And of course that dogged me, because you can't, when people retreat into a world of magical thinking, when they believe that, dinosaurs lived with Adam and Eve, you can't, if you begin to try and break that down rationally or challenge the irrationality of that, they get extremely angry, because that magical world is all that they have left to protect them from the fact-based world that almost destroyed them. In many cases, came very close to destroying them. And I, at the end of the book, I said the only way is to reintegrate these people back into the society by giving them a sense of place, stability, a living wage, and of course the opposite has happened, which is why we have ended up where we are.
So how do we fight for this? How do we make it so that these people can get those things? Or is it totally hopeless?
Well, the Democratic Party ain't going to do it.
Right.
And, this is the last window we had. I mean, Biden can't even
Get off
hold
a bicycle.
his campaign promise of $15 an hour minimum
Right.
wage. So we're in deep trouble. I mean, the Democrats all acknowledge. I mean, that's why even the Republicans. There's only one ruling party now. The establishment Republican Party is completely been folded into the Democratic Party. I mean, what Robert Reich a couple of weeks ago endorsed Liz Cheney for president. This is just insane. But they're all one party: Crystal and Mitt Romney and the Bushes, and then you have that cult-like white man's party built around Trump. But the connecting tissue, and you saw this in January 6th, is this Christian fascism. So with these people ascendant now within the Congress, it becomes very dangerous. And you're not going to fight them by arguing them out of it. I really hold the establishment parties, Republicans and Democrats, culpable for what's happened. They fertilize the soil for the rise of this Christian fascism, and we're all about to pay for it.
You've been so generous with your time. I just had a few more things to ask you about. One is Daniel Hale, and one is, I don't know if you're up to talking about this, but you wrote this moving piece about the disappearance of Meghan Marhon. I don't know if you want to talk about it. If you don't,
Meghan Marhon, yeah. Well, we'll start with Meghan. There's 250,000 women a year who go missing, and almost all of them are fleeing from male-perpetrated violence, especially domestic violence, and they're just ignored. So 40% of all girls and women who are missing are people of color. That's 100,000 out of 250,000, although they're only 16% of the population. And it's even higher if you're a Native American. So for instance, in Montana, 26% of all missing person reports are Native girls and women. They're less than 7% of the state's population. So Meghan was white, well-educated. I write about this in the column, The Disappearance of Meghan Marhon, which is on SheerPost and on my Substack, which is chrishedges.substack.com. And I knew her. I said, because I knew her, I didn't want her to be a statistic. And so I just wrote this profile. But the fact is, she was stalked by a predator who, in her words, and I heard her say it on a tape Zoom, these are her words, brutally harassed and intimidated me because I wouldn't sleep with him. She was afraid to be at home, especially because he drove by her house. And she was granted a leave. She was a high school teacher. She was in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and she disappeared on March 27th, which was 14 or 15 weeks. So, we don't know what happened. I mean, was she abducted? Did she commit suicide? But in a way, all of that speculation is irrelevant, because she wouldn't have been there if she hadn't been harassed and afraid. This is just an epidemic throughout the country, and a very low on the priority of law enforcement. Now, many of these women are not found. They search the area in the park where they found her car, and then that's it. They've stopped. So it was a way of highlighting an issue. I mean, it's personal because, of course, I knew her and she was a wonderful person. But you can read the full column. In terms of Daniel, yeah, I'm going out tomorrow, which is why I got to go to bed. I got to get up at 5. I'm going out to see Daniel Hale, the whistleblower. And in this prison, they put him in Marion, Illinois, which is in the middle of nowhere. So I got to fly to St. Louis. I got to be at the prison at 8:30. So I got to get up at like 5:30 or 6 day after tomorrow and drive to the prison and see him. I try and visit. I also have visited Mamiya, Abu Jamal, and others because these people are so courageous and they've sacrificed so much, and I don't want us to forget their courage and their, what they've given us. In the case of Hale, he exposed the widespread killing of civilians by the militarized drone program in the Middle East, and now he's spending 45 months in a federal prison for it.
Have you been in touch with Mamiya lately?
Not lately. Owe him a letter. Not lately. Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Assange, who you've written about.
Yeah. Well, I was over in London for Julian's wedding.
How was that?
Well, it was 6 of us who were guests, but of course, Belmarsh Prison didn't let us in. But again, I wrote about it. It's called The Marriage of Julian Assange. Well, it was heartbreaking. I mean, I was with the family and with Stella after we left the prison. I was with them, until about 11 at night, and it's just so sad. I mean, here's a person who didn't commit a crime. He in fact, he gave us so much, and just the judicial farce. I mean, the fact that UC Global, which is the Spanish security firm in the embassy, taped everything, including his meetings with his lawyers, and turned it over to the U.S. I mean, that alone invalidates the trial. But I've been over there to sit in on a lot of the hearings, and then because of COVID, I got a link, so at least I got up at like 4 a.m. and watched all of the hearings. It's and I think the failure on the part of press organizations, which printed all the material WikiLeaks put out, New York Times, El País. I mean, they just turned on him almost the moment they published. And I know why, because he shamed them into doing their job, and they hated him for it. They couldn't not publish it because it would expose who they were. And so they grit their teeth and published it, and then they joined forces to destroy him.
Yeah, right. They should be facing the same fate.
Well, they will eventually. I mean, this is why it's so short-sighted, because it sets a legal precedent. So if Julian is extradited and he's found guilty, then possessing or publishing classified material, and which I did at the New York Times, is a criminal offense under the Espionage Act. I mean, also, how can you charge an Australian citizen under the U.S. Espionage Act? That doesn't make any sense at all. WikiLeaks is not a U.S.-based publication. I mean, the whole thing is just farce. It's Dickensian. It's not the best of British jurisprudence. It's right out of the Lubyanka. And I think that the failure on the part of the establishment press and people who care about the rule of law to just decry in the most vocal terms this egregious attack against a publisher, but also against the free press. I mean, it's not just Julian and his family who are going to suffer. We're all going to suffer this.
Right. Well, Chris, thank you so much. You've been such an amazing, pleasure to talk to, and I learned so much every time I talk to you, and everyone should read this. It's great. Our class, everyone watch The Long Road Home, and I link to your Substack, and so people will have all the ways to reach you and read you.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks so much, and tell Daniel Hale that we all say hi.
I will.
And
he's
to stay strong.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked on the phone. Okay.
Great. Okay. Thanks so much. Wow, guys, that was so great. He's so great. He's so great. That was so much fun. Please, I'm so appreciative of all these people who are saying how great the show is, and I'm very, very, very appreciative. Please like the stream. It's just a very easy way to support the show, to make sure that people watch the show, that it reaches more people. He's really amazing. And also, please subscribe. You hit subscribe and then you hit the bell. And we're going to be on Call-In right after we stop this. We're going to get on to Call-In. And yeah, here's what Brad has to say. Thanks for being here, everyone. Love y'all, and thank y'all. The super chats, you make the program possible. Please remember to hit the like button, share, and subscribe. That's true. Should we watch this last video of Biden? I don't want to leave you guys on a down note, but we should watch this video of Biden responding to the shooting that happened.
If you don't want to leave on a down note, then I would advise not watching Joe Biden.
Yeah, then you would advise leaving now, but yeah. Okay.
But we can, absolutely. I just don't know if describing it as a high note would be
Wait,
accurate.
what did I say? What did I say?
Not wanting to leave on a down note or a low note.
Oh, well, I was saying that it's like a disclaimer, not to leave you on a down note, but
yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I heard what happened today, but each day we're
Wait, did I
reminded-
set this up that he's responding to the shooting on July 4th?
Yes.
Okay.
This is him yesterday, I believe.
Monday, in case you're
Monday.
watching this later, yeah.
Monday, yesterday.
Brad, you're dating the stream.
God damn it. Okay. It's him responding to the shooting in Illinois.
Okay.
I heard what happened today, but each day we're reminded there's nothing guaranteed about our democracy, nothing guaranteed about our way of life. We have to fight for it, defend it, and earn it by voting. To refine, evolve, and extend the calling of America to move forward boldly and unafraid. And this day reminds us of what brought us together long ago, what binds us still, and at our best, what we strive for. It's we the people, not a hollow phrase in America, we the people, doing all we can to ensure that the idea of America, the cause of freedom and justice and equality, does more than survive the divisions of our time, but that it shines like the sun to light up the future of our world. I know we can do this. I know many Americans look around today and see a divided country and are deeply worried about that fact. I understand, but I believe we're more united than we are divided. Even more, I believe it's a choice we make, and I believe it's within our power to choose unity and unity of purpose.
So, I mean, just not even pretending to not be craven.
No, when it's just I don't know, like a platitude, then there's nothing we can't do.
Right.
Anything's possible, but when it materially matters, there's just nothing we can do.
Yeah. By the way, vote harder. By the way, I see someone who's commenting, and I know I shouldn't respond to the trolls, but I just have to say, you're like obsessed with Jewish stuff, and go look up Chris Hedges. He writes about Israel all the time, and he basically quit the New York Times over its war coverage. So it's not like an own. Just go look him up in Wikipedia. All right. That's all I think I have to say to that person.
Yeah.
But he kept writing about it.
Chris really, in my view, Chris really,
chatting.
Chris really walks his talk.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you think he's not critical of Israel, wow. Wow, do you have stuff to catch up on?
What I would really like to ask Chris, if the next time I get the opportunity, I truly want to know if he has any advice, given like how aware he is of so many things. If he has any tips on how to like not have a nervous breakdown, like,
Yeah, I know.
you know, like how does he manage these things?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Max, this guy, I think basically an anti-Semite who's saying we don't have a democracy. We have a Jewish billionaire oligarchy, a Zionist Jewish racist mafia that has utter supremacy in the United States. There are a lot of rich non-Jews.
Yeah, like take out the Jewish specific part of that, and sure, but the you know, pigeonholing it into this, you know, strictly Jewish thing, it just seems weird to me.
Yeah. Only 55 likes to get to 1,000. That's a lot. I mean, we don't have 1,000 people watching anymore. So that was anyway. Well, guys, it's been great. If you're watching now live, you are so in luck because you got to see that whole thing for free. If you're watching this later and you want to see the whole interview with Chris Hedges, which I couldn't guarantee more, it's so great, then you can do that at patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show.
Can see written
it's below. Yeah,
right there. Yep.
Yeah, and I'll block the anti-Semites next time. I wish I'd shown his questions to Chris to respond to.
Next time.
Yeah, next time.
I'm sure that the
and next time I am 7 to go. Brad, did you like the stream?
I
Tyler,
did.
Did you like the stream?
Call your mom, call your
mom.
uncle,
Yeah, it's
call
okay. You know
your
what?
neighbor.
I didn't blackmail people enough to next time I'm gonna pause.
Oh yeah,
next
you
time
know,
before I bring in Chris. Yeah.
Like if you don't like the stream, I'm going to turn this car around.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, everyone. So I will see you next Tuesday. And one of our guests is going to be Matt Ho, who Chris brought up, who is running for Senate as a Green. And of course, it's been sabotaged by both Republicans and Democrats. And apparently we got to 1,000. Oh, right. Because people liked before. Yes. Republicans. Yay. Awesome.
Yay.
Thank you, guys. Love you. All right. Yay. That's a great ratio.
I need a celebratory sound, but here.
That was great. That's the owl. Yeah. Well, guys, thanks again so much. I'll see you on Callin. I'll see you on Callin at 9. So we have. Should I get on now? I'm afraid we'll lose people.
Well, it's up to you if you need a slight breather. Otherwise, you can go right there.
Let's go right there. I'll see you guys at Callin right now.
And the link to anyone who would want to join in Callin, which is a free app. If you can use Twitter, you can use Callin, and you can
use Callin even if you can't use Twitter. Don't say that because there are people who yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it's super easy. It's free, and you can call in and tell Katie your comments or ask your questions.
Yeah.
We're
starting.
And the link to that is in the YouTube description.
Yeah. Okay. Don't forget to watch this whole thing, which I really recommend. Patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Brad. Thanks.